Right, let's do some gardening. As you can see, I've added some bean canes in, and I've added my French beans and also my Liberty beans off Terry King. So I put these separate to my other beans so that I know exactly what variety they are. I have popped the label in, which could be blown away, but I'm going to think about adding some tags to the side so I'll know which beans are which. So it's just simply pushing them in the ground about a foot lot in so that they anchor in, because the worst that you want is you just push them in a little bit and then the wind knock them over. So really push them into the ground. These were 8-foot canes, and obviously you can see I'm about 6 foot, so 7 foot there. You want them in a good foot at least. It's windy today and it's, you know, it's a mild day. So all I do is I pop them into the ground, you know, about 10 inches apart, and then I clamp them all together and put 2 cable ties, so if one snaps, there's another there. I do like using string, but I found the amount of birds that's around this area, they keep taking the twine for nests and things, and they keep popping open, so this year I've had to resort on using 2 cable ties. Right, next job. So I bloody put my shorts on, showing my knees, and then the bloody clouds come out. You know, I called over and got some compost the other day at the garden centre, and I was shocked at the price of the compost, and it really made me sit down and think I really need to actively consider what I'm going to do with this garden in the next year. You know, I can't keep buying in every year and filling these beds. I spent hundreds of pounds. I have comments all the time saying, you're like, yeah, but no dig costs a lot of money, and there's no other way around it. Yes, it does at the start. Once you pay out that initial cost, it's not so bad then, you know, it's just a top dressing every year. But that initial cost, is a stinger. But there's just no way around it. You know, I was lucky that I brought a lot of compost up from my old plot that I could use for the beds, and I used a lot of well-rotted manure. But I feel your pain if you're starting as a no-dig gardener. But there is no other way around it. But I went over and seen Tony O'Neill, and I was, you know, ranting on about the cost of compost and how I'm going to fill all my beds and dress them because they're not full to the level that I want them to be. And he's bringing out his book now on, which is today, Friday the 13th, and it's all about composting. It's a Masterclass Composting book. He gave me a book and I was so shocked. I was reading through it last night and I thought, it's really made me think that I actually know nothing about compost building. You know, I know the basics of layers and nitrogen carbon ratio, but there's a lot more that I need to know, and I'm going to take it really serious this year. So he's brought out this Composting Masterclass book, and I gotta be honest, I spent last night looking through it and I thought, I know hardly anything and I need to take it more serious. If I want to save money in the long run on my plot, I need to be making more compost. And like, the good thing about Tony's book as well is it can be as simple and as hard as you want. You know, there's so many tips and tricks in here, but there's also a lot of details as well about, you know, the soil pHs and everything else. I was blown away last night reading it, thinking I know nothing. So me turning my compost, which started off as rotten manure, is going to be a thing of the past. You know, I'm going to be adding a lot more layers in. I'm going to be adding a lot more things in, and water, you know, the moisture. I've always been wondering, you know, why I had so many issues, and going through this, I've been doing them all myself. Right, so that's me ranting on. I'm going to get some gardening done now, and I'm looking at all the beds thinking they all could do with a top dressing of compost, but I'm going to wait until next year. I'm going to start building up my compost heaps. And yeah, I think you all need to consider doing that as well, is that we can't keep relying on compost companies to be giving us our nutrient soil, because it's rubbish, it's crap. So yeah, that's my agenda, making more compost, knowing what's going in and out of my garden, and that's the way forward that I'm going with this. I've got loads to do today. I've got literally loads to do. I've got weeding, the boring stuff. We all hate the boring stuff, but you see my plot and you think, oh, you know, he's got all these nice beds and they're all raised and they're all nets and they're all conformed, and it's you know, that's not always the case. There is rubbish everywhere because I've been sorting things out, and that's the real allotment garden life. You know, whether you're a gardener or a plotter, it's never tidy for the majority of the time. So today I need to have a good tidy up. Nature will always battle you through, you know, like the pond plants have been knocked over and some of the lettuce have been eaten, and you just keep replanting, keep resowing, and just get through the seasons and enjoy it. When this becomes a job, stop. Always keep it as a hobby. Now that I've had my serious head on, let's get everything else done. I am beaming with the beans going out. I put a few beans out last night. I forgot my camera as well. Can you believe it? Like, I came over thinking I'm going to do the beans, but it was too late. I was over here. I wasn't going all the way back home just to get the camera. I sat down, and sometimes I like to do that, you know. Sometimes I just want to come over, no camera, no phone, and I just sit over here. It's a paradise for me, you know, and this is a hobby for me. You know, I had someone comment yesterday when they went past saying, you spent so much money on your plot, you know, and the thing is, it is my plot, and you all need to remember that as well, that when people make, you know, judgments about your plot or, you know, comments, it's yours. You know, make it how you want it and don't worry about anyone else. You know, I don't compete with anyone else on the plots. If they want to have their garden in a traditional way, in a dig way, in a no dig way, in a more rustic way, a more organised way, that's up to them. You know, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm not eating the produce. I'm not traipsing on their beds. I don't care, you know, about my surroundings. I'm worried about here and everywhere else that I'm growing. You know, and I've always worked like that in everything I do. Like, I'm not worried about my surroundings. I'm worried about me, and I'm worried about my area. So don't worry about other people, and don't look at my plot, because I am getting quite a few comments saying like, oh, I wish my plot was like yours, or, you know, yours are goals, and they are compliments, and I'm really flattered by those. I really am. It's just the way I garden. You know, I like a bit of conformity. So yeah, so if, you know, if someone's got a garden that's a little bit better than yours, or worse, or, you know, they've got more pots, or their plants are on further than you, or they're behind, my advice is just to focus on you, focus on your gardening, and stop worrying about everything else. Gardening is supposed to be a relaxing hobby about you and the things that you're growing. I see so many people stressing about other people's, you know, oh my God, you know, mine isn't as far on as yours, and that's okay. All it means is they'll have their beans a week before you, or a week after you, and you're not going to be sitting at the table eating it, so don't stress about it. And if you take anything from this video, just be the gardener you can be for now, and progress and learn and grow. You know, I started off about 4 or 5 years ago. I've been gardening on and off, but my knowledge has grown in the last 5 years, I'd say maximum. So there's still things I learn. I mean, I ask other YouTubers about things before I do a video sometimes. Nobody is a pro. Everyone is good at one thing and rubbish at another. Like, I'm not shy. Like, I'll message Steve at Digwell Greenfingers and I'll say, Steve, this is happening, is something wrong? And, you know, and he'll tell me, and then I'll pass on something to someone else. And I think that's what it's all about. I think we're focusing too much on perfection, and I think the next year coming along, my mental health, everyone else's mental health is important. This garden is supposed to be a sanctuary for me, and I think the one thing that gardeners do have is hope. We hope for good harvest, we hope for seeds to sow, we hope for rain, we hope for good weather, you know, we hope for all those things. And a lot of other hobbies don't have that. You know, they make their thing, they create it, and they carry on. But we always have that hope inside us. It's a good attribute as a gardener to have. We're hoping for the future. And the one thing I like about Tony is his passion for gardening. You know, every time I visit him, I come from there and I'm inspired to do something new, or I try something, and he really pushes me forward on things. And it's just a natural ability that he has. And he's seen this issue we've got with composting, and he's brought up this book, and hopefully we can all benefit from it. It is an issue that we've got in the gardening world, and we need to deal with it. Nobody else, we can't keep relying on compost companies to feed our plants. We need to be doing it ourselves. I feel really positive and really motivated, and the next year, the next season, the next day is going to be better than today. I feel like an emotional speaker today. Go gardeners! The wind's picked up, so I've got a few more jobs to do. The chilies and the peppers are bedding in lovely, which I'm happy about in the polytunnel. I've also put in the Rhondda black runner beans off Jen's Garden Adventures. I'll just show you them now. I popped those in further down the plot so that I'd have a bit more height structure down here. And they're in the cocoa coir bed. There is compost and well-rotted manure underneath, but I'm finding that the slugs don't like going over across the cocoa coir so far. I don't know whether or not that's just a theory that I've got, but I've noticed that there's no slug attack. So let me just show you them. So yeah, they've been in a few days now, and no slugs have seemed to be going on this bed at all. Even the peas are bedding in, and I've also got some the yin yang beans over here. But all the Rhondda runner beans, I've got one on each station. I didn't sow loads, but I sowed everything that Jen gave me. So it's much appreciate that, Jen. So I'm sure they'll be lovely. It's nice to have something Welsh on the plot. So I'm going to harvest a few things today. I've got some more runner beans to sow, because I always like to have a backup, because there's nothing worse. And you try and put all the stations around the poles and you haven't got enough runner beans. So I'm going to sow a couple more today as plan C. So plan A went in, which wasn't that many. Plan B is already growing, and I'll have plan C. There won't be loads, but there'll be a few backups, and I assure you there'll be people on the plot that will be grateful of them as well. So I've harvested a few lettuce already. I took 2 out here and they were lovely with my tea with some spring onions. The sugar snap peas, I've been harvesting them already as well. So everything's growing. Everything's looking lovely now. It's like a war zone here though, because it's windy. I've got bits and bobs all over the plot, and I'm trying to sort things out. I've sowed all the pumpkins for this. I'm doing about 4 variations, mini pumpkins, more for decorative, and some are winter squash. They're all going to climb all over this now in the late summer. So I'm really happy about doing that. And also I've got some climbing nasturtiums to go over this archway. So for this one, I'm going to have loads of climbing nasturtiums, I think. So yeah, this bed I'm going to clear once I harvest some more of it, because I've decided that it'd be pointless me putting the sweetcorn further down the plot when the sun is up here all the time. So I know they love having the sun. Right, let me go have a nice cup of coffee and then we'll get a few more jobs done. Oh, also before I go, the summer cabbages that I sowed about a month ago, let me show you them now. Crazy. They have taken over this bed. It's absolutely crazy. So they're all in, they're all climbing through, and these are also the red Brussels sprouts. So there's been hardly any attack on them because of the enviromesh, and I've had a few little slug attacks, but I put the nematodes in and they're looking great. Look how lush and green those cabbages are. So it just proves nematodes, cover your beds with nets, put every barrier up that you can for those blooming slugs. This archway here, I've got some more French beans to go over this side. Everything's going to be lush and green, and everything's going to look like little rooms on my plot by the end of the summer. Right, coffee. This clematis smells absolutely amazing. You walk up the path and you can smell this when the wind blows it down. Also, there's a poppy here that goes absolutely huge. I'll show you in a later video, but I'm so glad that they've come back again stronger, and the plot holders have said that I can have a little cutting off it for next year. Right, water.